Going to do a little reading of more of the Boxcar Children and outside, and I put out some hopefully squirrel and bird bait and cleaned the bird bath. There's a little squirrel and he's getting close. I hope he comes so you can see him. Hello, little guy. Come on. I know. He wants to. We'll go to the other side then. I hope he comes. Hope we get to see him. That'll be fun. Okay, we left off. We read through chapter 3. So let's go to chapter 4. Okay. Where there was a mystery noise in the woods. Okay. Chapter 4, titled Henry Has Two Surprises. So let's find out what's going on. Jessie whispered, "Keep still." The three children did not say a word. They sat quietly in the boxcar, looking at the bushes. I wonder if it's a bear, thought Benny. Soon something came out, but it wasn't a bear. It was a dog, which hopped along on 3 legs, crying softly and holding up a front paw. "It's all right," said Jessie. "It's only a dog, but I think he is hurt." The dog looked up and saw the children, and then he wagged his tail. "Poor dog," said Jessie. "Are you lost? Come over here and let me look at your paw." The dog hopped over to the boxcar, and the children got out. Jessie looked at the paw and said, "Oh dear, you poor dog, there is a big thorn in your foot." The dog stopped crying and looked at Jessie. "Good dog," said Jessie. "I can help you, but maybe it will hurt." The dog looked up at Jessie and wagged his tail again. "Violet," ordered Jessie, "please put my handkerchief in the brook." Jessie sat down on the stump and took the dog in her lap. She patted him and gave him a little piece of bread. Then she began to pull out the thorn. It was a long thorn, but the dog did not make any noise. Jessie pulled and pulled, and at last the thorn came out. Violet had a wet handkerchief ready. Jessie put it around the dog's paw, and he looked up at her, and he wagged his tail a little. "He wants to say thank you, Jessie," cried Violet. "He is a good dog not to cry." "Yes, he is," agreed Jessie. "Now I had better hold him for a while so he will lie down and rest his leg." "We can surprise Henry," remarked Benny. "Now we have a dog." "So we can," said Jessie. "But that was not my surprise. I was going to get a lot of blueberries for supper." "Can't we look for blueberries while you hold the dog?" "Yes, you can," said Jessie. "Look over there by the big trees." Benny and Violet ran over to look. "Oh, Jessie, did you ever see so many blueberries? I guess 5 blueberries. No, I guess 10 blueberries." Jessie laughed. "I guess there are more than 5 or 10, Benny. Get a clean towel and pick them into it." For a while, Jessie watched Benny and Violet picking blueberries. "Most of Benny's blueberries are going into his mouth," she thought with a laugh. "But maybe that's just as well. He won't get so hungry waiting for Henry to come back with the milk." She carried the dog over to the children and sat down beside them, the dog on her lap. With her help, the towel was soon full of blueberries. "I wish we had some dishes," Jessie said. "Then we could have blueberries and milk." "Never mind," said Violet. "When Henry comes, we can eat some blueberries and then take a drink of milk." When Henry came, he had some heavy bundles. He had 4 bottles of milk in a bag, a loaf of brown bread, and also some fine yellow cheese. He looked at the dog. "Where did you get that fine dog?" he cried. "He came to us," said Benny. "He is a surprise for you." Henry went over to the dog, who wagged his tail. Henry patted him and said, He ought to be a good watchdog. Why is the handkerchief on his foot?" "He had a big thorn in his foot," answered Violet, "and Jessie took it out and put it on the handkerchief and put on the handkerchief. It hurt him, but he did not cry or growl." "His name is Watch," remarked Benny. "Oh, is it?" asked Jessie, laughing. "Watch is a good name for a watchdog." "Did you bring some milk?" asked Benny, looking hungrily at the bottles. "I should say I did. 4 bottles." "Poor old Benny," said Jessie. "We'll have dinner now. Or is it supper?" "It must be supper, for soon we'll have to go to bed." "Tomorrow we'll eat 3 times," said Jessie. Now Jessie liked to have things in order, and so she put the laundry bag on some pine needles for a tablecloth. Then she cut the loaf of brown bread into 5 big pieces. The cheese was cut into 4. Dogs don't like cheese, remarked Benny. Benny doesn't know much about dogs. Oh, those squirrels are thinking about it. Come on, quit chasing each other and have some breakfast, guys. Anyway, dogs don't like cheese, remarked Benny. The little boy was glad too, for he was very hungry. Violet put the 4 bottles of milk on the table, and Jessie put some blueberries and cheese at each place. Blueberries, cried Jessie. Cried Henry. Jessie, you had 2 surprises for me. I'm sorry we haven't any cups, Jessie said. We'll have to drink out of the bottles. Now all come and sit down. So supper began. Look, Benny, said Henry. You take some blueberries and eat some brown bread and then some cheese and take a drink of milk. It's good, said Benny. He began to put more blueberries into his mouth. The dog had supper too. Looks like they're cutting down some trees. Hopefully it's not too distracting. Things happen. The dog had supper too. Jessie gave him bread as he lay on the ground beside her, and he drank milk out of her hand. When supper was over, there was some milk left in each bottle. We'll have the rest of the milk for breakfast. Tonight we are going to sleep on beds. Let's get some pine needles now. Soon the children had a big pile. Look, he'll be back. Wait, here he is. Let's see if I can zoom in a little. I knew they'd be along. Hi. Hey, little guys. It's okay. It's all right. Okay, I'm going to zoom out and do some more reading. I'll stay leaned back a little bit so that you can see them if they come over more. Okay. Soon the children had a big pile. Henry jumped into the boxcar and Jessie gave him the pine needles. He made 4 beds in one end of the car. This side is the bedroom, said Jessie. What will the other side be? Asked Benny. The other side? Jessie said, Let me think. I guess that will be the sitting room, and maybe some of the time it will be the kitchen. Then she said, Come now, come and get washed. She took the cake of soap and went down to the brook. That will be fun, Benny, said Violet. We'll splash our paws in the brook just as little brown bear does. She knew Benny did not like to be washed. Benny's a problem. The children were all very hot, and so they were glad to splash in the cold water. Benny put cold water and soap on his face with the others and dried his hands on a towel. You have to have a line to dry the towels on, said Jessie. So she took string out of the laundry bag and tied it to one end of a tree. The other end of the string she tied to the boxcar. This made a good clothesline. When she had washed one towel and Violet had washed the other one, they hung both towels on the clothesline. It looks like home, said Henry. See the washing, he laughed. Jessie was thinking, we ought to get some water to drink before we go to bed. But what shall we put it in? Let's put all the milk into 2 bottles, said Henry. Then we can fill the other 2 with water. Good, said Jessie. You go alone to the fountain, Henry. You can hide if anyone comes along. Henry went out very quietly and soon came back with 2 bottles full of cold water. Bentley drank a little, but he was almost asleep. The other children helped him into the boxcar. Then they all climbed in, Jessie carrying the dog. He lay down at once beside her. It is so hot that we'll leave the door open, said Henry. Soon they were fast asleep, dog and all. The moon came up, but they did not see it. This was the first time in 4 days that they could go to sleep at night, as children should. The explorers find treasure. The next morning, Jessie woke up first, and she got up at once, for she was the housekeeper. The dog sat in the door of the car and looked at her as she jumped down to get milk for breakfast. Then he jumped down after her. Jessie walked down by the little brook and stopped to look at the waterfall. It was beautiful. I must look in the refrigerator, she said with a laugh. It was a funny refrigerator. There was a rock behind the waterfall, and the night before, Jessie had put the 2 bottles of milk in a hole in this rock. Now she took the bottles out and found that the milk was very cold. Is it good? Called Benny, who sat in the car door. It is delicious, cried Jessie. It is cold, too. She got up into the car with the milk and sat down beside Benny. The 4 children drank the milk for breakfast. Henry said, "Today I'll go down to the town and try to get some work to do. Oh, I can cut grass or work in a garden or something. Then we'll have something besides milk for breakfast." He washed his hands and face and started out. "I'm so glad you have a dog, Jessie," he said. "Goodbye. I'll be back at noon." The children looked after Henry, and then they looked at Jessie. "What are we going to do now, Jessie?" Benny asked his sister. "Well, Benny," answered Jessie, "we'll go exploring and look for treasures. We begin here at the car and look until we find a dump." "What's a dump?" asked Benny. "Oh, Benny," said Violet, "you know what a dump is. Old tin cans and old dishes and bottles." "Are old tin cans and dishes treasures?" Benny wanted to know. "They will be treasures for us," answered Jessie, laughing. "And wheels? Will there be any wheels in the dump?" "Yes, maybe," replied Violet, "but cups, Benny, and plates, and maybe spoons. You like to drink milk out of a cup." "Oh, yes," agreed Benny politely, but anyone could see his mind was still on wheels. The explorers started walking down the old rusty tracks, with Watch hopping along on 3 legs. The other paw, still tied up with Jessie's handkerchief, was held off the ground, but the dog looked very happy. He liked these kind children. They all walked along the woods, looking this way and that. After a while, the old track came out onto the sun, and the explorers could see they were on top of a hill. They could look down and see the town below them. "Henry is down there," said Jessie. Benny was walking along behind his 2 sisters. Suddenly he cried happily, "Look, Jessie, there's a treasure, a wheel." The girls looked where he was pointing, and they saw a big dump with many old bottles and tin cans on it. There were also wheels and cups. Indeed, there were dishes of all kinds. "Oh, Benny," cried Jessie, "you saw the treasures first. What should we do without you?" Get the picture? Cute. Hi, little guy. Yeah, your tummy winning out over your. Oh, it's okay. Oh, you got your friend. Maybe they'll come over. Your other buddy's a coward. Oh, he just picked up a thing and went to the tree with it. Yeah, it's little scared ones. Violet ran over to the dump. "Here's a white pitcher, Jessie," she cried. Jessie looked at it. It was all right, with only one small crack. "Here's a big white cup, too," she said happily. "Can you use a teapot, Jessie?" asked Benny. "Yes, indeed. We can put water in it. I have found 2 cups and a bowl. Let's look for spoons, too." Violet held up what she found, 5 spoons covered with rust. "Good," said Jessie. "Here's a big kettle. Let's pile all the dishes in it. Then we can carry them back to the boxcar." Benny had found 4 wheels just alike and laid them to one side. Now he held up a pink cup. There was a big crack in it, but it had a handle. "This will be my pink cup," said Benny. "I hope it will hold milk," said Jessie, laughing. "It's a beautiful cup, Benny." The children laid all their treasures, even the wheels, on a board, and the girls carried the board back to the boxcar between them. They put the dishes down by the brook. "Now we must wash them," said Jessie. "All right," agreed Benny. "We'll wash my pink cup." And never did a little boy hand dishes so carefully to his sisters as Benny did. The girls washed the dishes with soap, and Jessie used sand to get the rust off the spoons. "There," she said, washing the last shining spoon. "How fine they look! But I'm afraid they still aren't clean enough to eat from. When Henry comes, we'll get him to build a fire. Then we can have hot water to rinse them, and then they will be very clean." The children sat back and admired the dishes. Suddenly Violet cried, "Oh, I know where to put them. Come and see what I found in the car last night." Both girls looked at the door. Look on the door on the other side of the car, said Violet. All Jessie saw were two pieces of wood nailed to the closed door of the car, but she knew at once what was in Violet's mind. She ran to get the board they had carried from the dump and laid it carefully across the two pieces of wood. It made a fine shelf for the dishes. There, said Jessie. The children could hardly wait to put the shining dishes on the shelf. Let's put them on now and see how they look, without waiting to rinse them. When they were on the shelf, Violet picked some white and yellow flowers and put them in a cup full of water in the middle of the shelf. There, said Jessie. It's okay. There, said Jessie, stepping back to look at it. You said there 3 times, remarked Benny happily. Oh, wait, let me see a picture of the shelf. There you go. So I did, replied Jessie, laughing, and I'm going to say it again. She pointed to the woods and said, There. Henry was coming through the woods, and he carried many funny-looking bundles in his arms, but he would not open his bundles or tell what he had been doing until it was time for dinner. Where did you get the dishes? He cried when he saw the shelf. We went exploring, said Violet, and found a big dump. The children began telling him about their treasures. Benny told him about the tin cans and his pink cup and his wheels. Jessie took out the big kettle and asked him about building a fire. We want to use the dishes to eat from, and it's hard to get them clean in cold water. So Henry made a small fire in an open place where it would not burn anything. He put big stones all around it. We ought to have a fireplace, he remarked. Jessie cleaned the kettle with sand and filled it with water. Then Henry put it on the fire. Soon the water was boiling, and Henry rinsed the dishes carefully. Now I know they're clean enough to eat from, he said happily. I'm watching the squirrels. They're chasing each other around the yard. I love how the one came and just grabbed an armful of the peanuts before running off. It's too funny. Maybe they'll come back up. Hello. Hop, 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 hop. I'm surprised the birds haven't taken a chance. They're usually not that skittish, and I put some stuff pretty far down there. Hello, birdies. Come on. Oh, they're thinking about it. Oh, they're up in the tree. Oh, and they're higher in the tree now. Okay. I think that's enough of the book for now. I'm just going to sit quietly for a little bit and see if the friends come back. Yeah? You're so silly. See if I can zoom in again. Oh, he ran away before I could. Wildlife is not hurting for food in our backyard. Oh, I can't really pan around to see it, but the forsythia is very yellow and vibrant in the backyard, and they have something with some pink flowers coming off of it that is really gorgeous. The big bush, it's actually a holly bush. I didn't know that holly bushes could get that big. I'm guessing the holly berries aren't edible because nobody's eaten them all throughout the winter. Hi, little friend. It's okay. They're pretty great. They wait on the front porch too. They'll actually come up to the door, up to the window, and like look at me like, "Are you gonna come out and give me a snack?" And of course, I'm a sucker. We have a hook. You can't see it, but we have a hook down there, and I don't think it's gonna come today. It might not come until Friday. But I got a 3-tiered glass thing to hang from, and also something that goes over the top so that the birds can perch on the three different things, and I'm sure the squirrels are going to try to climb on it. I don't care. Do what you're going to do. I know when I go inside, my bedroom faces out back here, so I'll get to see them taking what they're not brave enough to take right now. Okay. Well, I got to get a start to the day. It was good seeing everybody.